Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavana. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Raj, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj. And he wanders in a forest along the banks of river Yamuna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The universe embraces each one of us, yet we can be so blinded by darkness. Because our true teachers guide us with the torchlight of knowledge, our eyes can be opened to the power and sweetness of illumination. Therefore, let us bow down to all those who guide us on our spiritual path. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you so much for everybody for joining, for being here, being present, giving your time to hear Bhagavatam and to attune also in the morning, in a way making this day as beautiful a day as it could be because of starting it in this sacred way as well. I do want to ask for any blessings that you wish to give me, and even your own inner intentions to be able to hear in a way that touches your heart, no matter on the qualification that I may have or may not at all have, but actually that there is that transmission coming through anytime that we are attempting to serve or to speak. I am going to share the screen. We're going to read the verses for today and then we will go into the class. Okay, that should be clear. So we are starting from Latin Canto chapter 84, verse 42. I'm going to read translations until we reach the last verse, and I'm going to read Sanskrit and purport. So this is translation by exalted disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami said, after hearing these statements of the sages, generous Vasudev bowed his head to the ground and, praising them, requested them to become his priests. This is a turning point, which I will speak about later. Thus requested by him, O king, the sages engaged the pious Vasudeva in performing fire sacrifices at that holy place of Kurukshetra according to strict religious principles and with most excellent ritual arrangements. When Maharaj Vasudeva was about to be initiated for the sacrifice, O king, the Vrishnis came to the initiation pavilion after bathing and putting on fine clothes and garlands of lotuses. The other kings also came, elaborately ornamented, as well as all their joyful queens, who wore jeweled lockets around their necks, and were also clad in fine garments. The royal wives were anointed with sandalwood paste and carried auspicious items for the worship. Mridangas, patahas, conch shells, bheris, anakas, and other instruments resounded. Male and female dancers danced, and sutas and makadas recited glorifications. Sweet-voiced Gandharvis sang, accompanied by their husbands. I researched a little bit of those instruments because they were not sounding so familiar in names for me, and most of them are drum-like instruments which are working with one another to kind of bring this beautiful symphony of sound. And even as there was research done into them, they are said to have had, which Bhagavatam also confirms, a very strong religious and traditional significance, and were often, if not only, used in spiritual rituals. So you can almost envision, even with this verse, um, yeah, like a group of instruments which, in a way, are all drums, but sound very beautiful together and have distinct rhythms and distinct, almost energies and natures to them. This is our last verse. Tam apya shinchan vithivad aktam apyaktam ritvijaha patnibhir asta dashabhihi somarajam ivodubhihi. Synonyms: tam, him; apya sinchan, they sprinkled with sacred water; vidhivat, according to scriptural rules; aktam, his eyes decorated with mascara; apyaktam, his body smeared with newly churned butter; ritvijaha, the priests; patnibhihi, along with his wives; ashta dashabhihi, 18; somarajam, the kingly; Iva, as if; Uduphihi, with stars. Translation: After Vasudeva's eyes had been decorated with black cosmetic and his body smeared with fresh butter, the priests initiated him according to scriptural rules by sprinkling him and his 18 wives with sacred water. Encircled by his wives, he resembled the regal moon encircled by stars. Purport: Devaki was Vasudeva's principal wife, but she had several co-wives, including her 6 sisters. This fact is recorded in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Devakashchograshenascha chatvaro devakatmajaha devavan upadevascha sudevo deva vadhanaha tesam swasaraha saptasan tritadeva vadayo nirpa santi devopadeva cha Srideva Deva Rakshita Sahadeva Devakicha Vasudeva Uvahataha. Ahuka had 2 sons named Devaka and Ugrasena. Devaka had 4 sons named Devavan, Upadeva, Sudeva, and Devavadhana, and he also had 7 daughters named Shantideva, Upadeva, Srideva, Devarakshita, Sahadeva, Devaki, and Dritadeva. Dritadeva was the eldest. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, married all these sisters. Some of Vasudeva's other wives are mentioned a few verses later. Puravirohini Bhatra Madira Rochana Ila Devaki Pramukhaschasan Patnya Anakadundubhe Devaki Pauravi Rohini Bhadra Madira Rochana Ila and others were all wives of Anakadundubhi, which is another name of Vasudeva. Among them Devaki was the chief. And so here the purport is essentially adding to the mentioning of the 18 wives and bringing the names and a little bit of personalities through those names to the purport, essentially adding a little bit more information, especially because as personalities are mentioned in Bhagavatam, even if they're almost mentioned in passing, um, seemingly in very small detail and maybe are not repeated so much within the text, which is such a vast text, still just because they are mentioned, um, they have so much significance already. We can almost imagine, like, envision how many persons have lived on the planet or even multiple planets, and somehow or other their pastimes or their stories, their name is encoded within a text that becomes um, and is seen as the cream of all the Vedic knowledge, that essentially already brings their significance. And so the purport is bringing their presence and bringing them closer, as having a name, having being sisters and being connected to Devaki, and also at the same time recognizing that while Devaki had 17 co-wives, she was the chief wife of Vasudeva, and that's also why you may mostly know Devaki as the wife of Vasudeva and not other wives. So I'm going to stop sharing and speak a little bit more about the overview of the chapter, because it is again a very special chapter and very special occasion. It is illuminating a special time in which a solar eclipse is happening and many exalted personalities are meeting at Kurukshetra. And Krishna is also present there. And as there is such an exalted audience, he chooses to speak about the meaning of life and the importance of a singular life that most of us are aware of, and how important it is for us to offer it in service to the divine, because that is um, not only the goal but the only way in which we are actually satisfied in our lives. And that also recognizes this attunement to the environment that those persons have. Um, we probably, like, I feel like most of us in this group have at least experienced a lunar eclipse, if not a solar eclipse. It is still happening, this special planetary arrangement, and it is a very intense happening that is felt kind of all around. Um, and the part of the culture that is described in Bhagavatam is that anytime there is an auspicious time, and that they were also aware of through being attuned to the celestials, the planets, the meaning of those arrangements and the meanings of their relationship with one another, that would be a moment in which the sacred gatherings would be invited, that the fire sacrifices or larger offerings would also be initiated, so that the auspicious time is not wasted, that actually the time in which it's even more supportive to do something spiritual is actually used for that specific reason, and to support the larger society to go deeper and connect closer with the divine, which we already established is really um, the way of becoming the most fulfilled and the most happy. Um, and so in that way, that already reminded me, and this is something that Srila Prabhupada gave us, which is the recognition of important moments in a calendar, such as Ekadashis that we are invited to observe, festival days, or even appearances and disappearances of the spiritual masters in our tradition. And so we can already kind of take that invitation from this chapter and even maybe meditate on the possibilities of becoming more attuned to even days that are maybe more conducive for spiritual practice, but also recognizing that the entire life and every day is also so special and an incredible opportunity to go deeper in one's spiritual journey and recognizing their own true self more and more. There is also a beautiful recognition and acknowledgement in this chapter of the importance of association. The sages are described as purifying the atmosphere, um, even by just being seen, that their presence is already supporting the kind of societal arrangement, and that they're literally shaping the place that they are in, which is already a sacred ground, but they are shaping it even more with the quality of their hearts and presence. Because the sages are persons who already have devoted their whole self to the development of their own heart, to service to others, to connection with divinity, that has transformed their self so completely, and they are so close to divinity that their presence is essentially what makes a place sacred. Which is a reminder again of the blessings of just association of those who are striving towards spirituality and striving towards the truth with capital T and the knowing of the self with the capital S. And then the Krishna or our Lord is described as a friend and worshipper of Brahmanas. And that is specifically connected to his role in this chapter, which again, he plays so many roles. And he reveals so many qualities throughout Bhagavad Gita, throughout Bhagavatam. And so this is one of them, that in this moment he is predominantly a friend and worshipper of the Brahmanas. And it's so beautiful that he is literally described as a worshipper of Brahmanas, that the Supreme Person would be so touched and feeling so grateful for those who are striving for the knowing of truth and for bringing pleasure to divinity, that he would be himself worshipping those persons, even though he is the divine, and he is satisfied in himself completely. I was even thinking about what is a definition of a Brahmana, and attuning to this chapter, the words that came to me, it's like these are persons who are trying to please the divine, the Lord, um, and lead others in doing so. They're sensitive and very attuned to the thoughts and feelings of others. They are attuned to themselves and their complete kind of inner workings of the heart. They're also attuned to that in the environment around them. They embody the highest level of character, which is focused on ever increasing their capacity to worship the Supreme and expand that worship. And they are trained in this context of the chapter, they are trained with utmost care and attention to detail in reciting mantras and rituals um, meant to support the society and furthering its connection with divinity. And so we are here talking about persons who have been like trained their entire lives for that purpose of actually serving others and leading the masses closer towards divinity, which also manifests often as creating or hosting fire sacrifices, of facilitating them, overseeing them for them to be actually successful, which is not an easy task. Even, as you heard me it's hard for me to even recite Sanskrit, and this is just reading, what to speak of actually even knowing all the mantras by heart and knowing exactly their pronunciation, when they're to be said, and everything else. This is a very complex science that is at the moment really lost to us and is not really encouraged for us to pick up on a very deep level either. I was looking at definitions by Srila Prabhupada on of his own application of the word brahmanas or brahmanhood. And what he mentions is a brahmana is a person who never laments and never hankers. And this is what he brings. This is the translation of Bhagavad Gita 1854. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service to me. And this is the Krishna speaking about that. And then this is purport to that very verse. In that Brahmanical state, he sees every living entity as part and parcel of God. That is samaha, equality. So a devotee is not willing to kill even an ant because he knows that he is also a soul, part and parcels. By his karma, he has become an ant. I have become a human being. So I am the same soul. He is the same soul. He is different, but he has different body. He is suffering in that way. I have got another body. I am also suffering, but I am thinking that I am enjoying. That is samaha sarveshu bhuteshu. So this is again Srila Prabhupada's um, more inclusive and more aligned with almost a modern context of a brahmana. And also inviting this expansion of consciousness and expansion of thinking, that a person who is situated in those qualities of a brahmana is a person who sees sacredness in all life and sees the potential opportunity to serve all life in different forms of it, recognizing the very truth that the temporary is essentially inevitably bringing suffering, and so we are to direct ourselves towards what is not temporary, what is eternal, what is actually ever existing. So Vasudev is he is recognized in the assembly, and he is recognized as being a very special personality because he is a guardian and a father, a very close person to Krishna. And he's also recognizing the circumstance that he is in, surrounded by incredible, exalted persons, that he's also having this deep humility to feel very inspired by and have this mood of worshipping them. Um, and resembling actually very similar to Parikshit, hearing from Shukadev Goswami, which is the setting of Srimad Bhagavatam, and also very similar to the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, discussing how can one be free while still engaged in action. Vasudev is asking the priests, the brahmanas, what activities free one from bondage of fruitive work. Um, And with that question, there is a response that worship of the Lord, and then they kind of give a very specific type of worship, which is creating a sacrifice, creating a fire sacrifice. That is one of those activities that is freeing one of bondage, of fruitive work. And with that being said, Vasudev sees again an opportunity which is very rare, because he sees the presence of so many amazing devotees around him. And recognizing that treasure of that association of priests who are gathering at the Kurukshetra, he asks them for support, and he asks for their engagement to actually become his priests, willing to actually have a fire sacrifice. And so that's also very beautiful because I see it as an act of courage that there is this desire coming within the heart of, again, potential engagement and service together, through a very meticulously shared effort, because the fire sacrifice is really not an easy, especially the the fire sacrifice that are described in Bhagavatam. These are not easy things to do. He is actually choosing to request that to be possible and to be a shared action and a shared prayer among multiple people, multiple devotees. And so he is granted his wish. But again, because the standards are so high, he is becoming initiated alongside his wives into actually performing that fire sacrifice, into being able to be qualified. So it's not even only that he is granted a seat at the sacrifice, he is essentially imparted deep knowledge about fire sacrifices. And through the purity of his own heart and of his own intention, the priest, the brahmanas, are choosing to initiate him into that sacred knowledge. And so I was thinking about the importance of initiation, but also the beauty of it as well. Because in initiation, in this context, into a form of sacrifice, but initiations, as we also know it, into chanting a specific mantra, into being part of a tradition, and being officially linked into a lineage of acharyas, of teachers, that is a moment of celebration, of stepping deeper into being able, or increasing capacity for relationship with the Supreme. And so in this context, Vasudeva is already a highly elevated person who has very close relationship with the Supreme Person. And at the same time, there is almost this next step that he can take to come closer, or to learn more, and be of service to others as well, and support the priests, to create that fire sacrifice. And so he is described as being extremely, well, the whole, again, arrangement, as again, it's so beautiful in Bhagavatam that anytime something happens of such importance, there is already a celebration, that around there is beautiful music resounding, everybody is dressed, that marks that occasion. Everybody is already, again, with their whole self, as much as they can almost externalize that, recognizing that celebration and importance. And Vasudev himself, with his wives, and this I find to be a very beautiful part of culture. It's like he is anointed with pure substances. He is anointed with a freshly churned butter, um, and beautified. He's described as wearing kajal or mascara around his eyes, um, and and so are his wives, also anointed with beautifully smelling fragrances and substances, essentially honored and worshipped almost on that special occasion of taking this next step, or of receiving new knowledge that can guide them even closer into their deepening of the heart, of the spiritual heart, and of their spiritual connections. Um, and I will end soon, but I want to make this last point, which is that this is an important detail for us to unpack, because it also shows the culture, which is something that we are, again, invited to take up. And it's a culture in which we are not really trained, that's not the right word, but we are invited and encouraged to support others in making spiritual progress, and to celebrate them and genuinely be happy when we see growing commitment of other practitioners, when we see others somehow or other taking small steps closer to the Supreme and towards the divine couple, towards the love of Lord Chaitanya, the love of any avatars that their heart is connecting with. And that is a very important aspect of being part of a Vaishnava community, that we actually are cultivating this beautiful heart that actually truly rejoices to see others coming closer to their own true self, and in that way also supporting us and remembering the importance of that work. This is a purport to Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 10, Verse 9 by Srila Prabhupada, which also points to this. A Vaishnava, therefore, is truly a perfect person because he laments to see others unhappy and feels joy at seeing others happy. A Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. He is always unhappy to see the conditioned souls in an unhappy state of materialism. Therefore, a Vaishnava is always busy preaching Krishna consciousness throughout the world. And so there is this, again, recognition that one, to be a devotee or to be a Vaishnava is to kind of continuously be aware of Maya, which I heard beautifully defined as a misidentification of what is temporary for something that is eternal. So the moment we are thinking something that is temporary to actually be long lasting, we are already in trouble in so many ways. But if we can keep that vision straight, and then the next step naturally is to connect that the suffering comes from that misidentification, and the suffering comes from maybe bringing too much or having too much attachment with the temporary, which is naturally going to be lost and naturally going to go away. It's meant to, that's just how it's meant to be. Then we are able to cultivate that we are stuck in this unfortunate place, and so are so many others. And so we are naturally drawn into wanting to support ourselves and large kind of community and others around us to connect with this truth. And then to have this beautiful experience of co-experiencing life with others, which we are oftentimes experiencing our life by ourselves. But I feel like that perfection that is described by Srila Prabhupada in what I just read is pointing to this invitation to step outside of ourselves and actually co-experience life with others, that we are rejoicing in others' person's happiness and we are lamenting for their suffering as well. Also, again, coming back to this notion that we are all suffering and there is the solution to it, which is to coming into the rightful perspective. So with that, I want to end my own sharing and open for discussion and maybe questions, maybe comments. Thank you so much for hearing me.
My question is, how can you be so serene, Ananda Manjari? What's the question?
First answer that comes to me is that it's morning. So the life hasn't got me yet. But also, I just try to ground before classes, so you see me at my best.
Grounded, grounded. Okay. Okay, thank you. We see Anandi is here. Anandi, how are you? Unmute, unmute. She's smiling. Is it a hospital bed, Anandi?
Yes, yes. I'm in the hospital bed listening to you guys.
Anandi, we love you.
I love you too.
You
Thank
getting
you.
better?
A tiny bit better, yes.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Anandi. See, dear devotees, this is how it's done. This is what intense hearing is like. Wherever you are, tune in and hear about Krishna. Jai. Jai Anandi.
being here.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to see you, but I just entered what
Okay, we're going to mute Anandi for now.
sure.
Bhima Prabhu has his hand raised. Your hand should be on the wheel, Bhima Prabhu. Don't raise it.
Um, thank you, Prabhuji, for such a lovely class. I'd just like to say that, as Ananda Bihari said, what is it that has this nice, sweet, equipoised, peaceful um, narration, and that, you know, there's a lot there, and there's only so much we can utilize for our day. But the one thing that we do take with us is that we are happy to hear from someone like you, um, the vibration, the vibe of someone who's at peace and someone who is thoroughly enjoying and savoring the Bhagavatam, um, immersed in the uh, Leela of Vasudeva and his wives and everything like that. It just, though it's a strange culture, you know, and there's elephants in the room, of course, 17 wives, but at the same time, we see that there's this glorious, beautiful culture. And we see that everything is centered and whirling around the cynosure of Krishna. And that Krishna doesn't want us to have a dry life. Krishna does not want us to have a life of, it is not thrilled because we're austere, that he wants us to have a life of the luxury of being in joy. We always say, we're not the enjoyer, but we do. We are in the joy. We're enjoyers instead of enjoyers. Out enjoying things from without, but we enjoy when we hear these stories from the Bhagavatam, because these stories are, for somehow I can't explain it, are in our hearts. The Bhagavatam is the story that's already written within our hearts. We're eternal. We've been there. I mean, if we listen to Prabhupada's words, he tells us we've been there and we made a decision to come here, but we've been there, and that we actually have a memory of this wonder, of this wondrous place, of this wondrous lover, of this wondrous friend, with a, as you say, Ananda Manjari, with a capital F and with a capital L. And even though there's only so much someone like myself who's not very versed to take in, one thing I do take in is that you are happy and serene in sharing this wonderful internal story of Krishna's pastimes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Min has her hand up.
Thank you so much for class. I have a question. What you said towards the end of the class about co-experiencing our lives with others, or co-experiencing others' lives. That's so powerful. And I was wondering if you could sort of bring together the notion, because in the earlier portion of the class, you spoke about the qualities of the Brahmanas and how themselves are just so, they're always constantly working towards this full awareness of themselves and of their surroundings and of God and of their existence. And this fine-tuning process constantly to be that person, and how it could influence or affect others around them and create this society. So I'm wondering if you could actually bring those two together and how we could if not understand it, how we could actually bring ourselves as individuals to really co-experience other sufferings and joy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, they're very connected, and in a way, the beginning point here is kind of the acknowledgement that in our conditioning we are very much self-centered. And Prabhupada also often speaks about this false notion that we are the ones to be served or to enjoy the world, and we think that we are actually responsible or so-called the doers. So the first step is, and which is actually the healing step of kind of coming closer spiritually or losing our conditioning, is a continuous recognition of relationships that we are part of. Meaning that even if I am doing something, the fact that I have gotten things through karmic inheritance, that even the ability of my body is something that was already given to me, and I'm doing something to that ability, or that anything that I'm able to do is essentially linked to other relationships, whether that's the environment, the natural environment that sustains me, that allows me to even live within my body, or whether that's parental relationships that I was brought into that actually raised me in a specific way. So there's always this acknowledgement that actually there have been many persons or many factors that even influence my ability to do anything. And from that place, when we are acting, we are already acting with a more sense of detachment and with more experience of gratitude, because we are in a way already indebted to so many different persons or personalities. And then we are, as we are kind of losing that conditioning, we are able to have more and more capacity to actually perceive others and perceive an experience of others. So it usually starts with our own experience being like, wow, I'm actually experiencing suffering. And I may, that may be the opportunity where I ask a deeper spiritual questions of like, why am I suffering? Why am I here? Um, but when we even come to that understanding, we also see that this is all around us. This is repeated in other person's lives. And so that's kind of the level that we are at, that we are able to tap into, to perceive others or to see others deeper and have that their experience resonate with ours, because in a way we already have a shared human experience which is similar, um, on a baseline that we can connect with, and that can allow us to tap deeper into a sense of almost circular dimension of living, where we are almost seeing like the tribe or seeing the community and feeling the interdependence, that I can't really be happy if other people around me are actually deeply suffering. On a deep core, this is what I want to be working towards, like a communal experience of being closer to truth, being closer to kind of lessening conditioning, so that we can um, experience more joy and experience more groundedness in the reality, which is scary if we don't really understand it with a larger perspective. And so going to the Brahmanas, they are persons who you can imagine have done it 100 times more, in a way that they've already dropped their conditioning. So now they're existing from a place of seeing every living entity as connected to the divine, and feeling and seeing their suffering and feeling the suffering of others, and also seeing that that suffering fundamentally comes from a place of not having the larger perspective. And so because they're situated in that grounded um, experience, like true experience of a relationship with divinity and truth with a capital T, they want others to experience that as a way of actually supporting them in lessening their own suffering and coming closer to their kind of so-called more sustainable happiness and true experience of life. And so in that way, they are like, they don't feel the need to act so much for themselves because they already are self-satisfied because of that relationship with divinity, and not having the conditioning that tells them like I need to care for myself or whatever, because they also have an experience that they are always protected and always supported by divinity and cared for. So in that way, that kind of sets a very beautiful baseline of just being able to have the capacity to kind of continuously want to serve others and want to support them. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's really, really powerful. Yeah, thank you so much. I really particularly liked how you pointed out this type of behavior and desire is really that gets us to this circular existence with everyone. That's really powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. I feel like you really asked about pretty much the essence of what I was trying to convey in a class today. And there is also this part of me that feels like that's, in a way, that is really the premise of a spiritual practice, which is increasing our capacity to hold others or to hold environment around us instead of just holding ourselves, while simultaneously, as this capacity increases, our needs are more fulfilled. So it's not like I'm forcing myself to be like, oh, I'm telling myself I need something, but I'm actually trying to almost pass that and force myself to do something else. It's more like I'm feeling satisfied.
That was powerful. Amrit Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Can you use your phone so I can bring mine? Yes.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar, Shri Gaura Chandra, Jai Adipurusha Prabhu, Jai everyone on this call. Ram came to take darshan and his diaper is full, I can smell. And that's us. We come to the Lord as we are. There may be some odd
Even
or
you with your bent head.
yeah. Come as you are. Come be seen by the Lord. I ran into Dayal Garanga the other day at the Bhakti Center, and I said, Dayal Prabhu, good to see you. And he said, good to be seen. So it's good to be seen by the Lord. Jai. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, nice haircut. You look younger. You look eternal. Cool. Jai. Sundarananda, let me see your haircut. It's not standing on end, Sundarananda. Where's the ecstasy?
I can't get it until I'm a devotee. If I'm stick around longer, maybe it will someday, some life.
Yeah, someday maybe it'll stand on end. Yes. Jai. Okay, would anyone like to speak? Ananda Manjari had to teach another class. Adipusha Prabhu, would you like to? Oh no, he's entering the Bhakti elevator. Adipusha Prabhu, when you are out of the elevator, please speak. Uh-oh. Okay. Adipusha Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Okay, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Okay, there he is, Adipusha Prabhu. Would you like to reflect on class?
I'm praying to Srila Prabhupada what to say. It's an interesting subject matter, this tremendous sacrifice that they're performing, so many details. And we're living in a society where people don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what to do with their voice and their singing. They don't know what to do with their instruments. They don't know what to do, how they dress. They don't know what to do with their artwork. But all these things, like she was explaining very nicely, they're orchestrated in a coordinated worship of Krishna. And when the society is focused like that on it, trying to please the Lord and glorify the Lord, then whatever talent they have, whatever facility they have, whatever intelligence they have, whatever, resources they have, if they use that in Krishna's service, then the society is uplifted, people's capacity is engaged, Krishna is pleased, and everyone benefits. So there's a misdirected civilization, and then by the grace of the spiritual master, by Krishna's grace, by the efforts of the Brahminical Society, look at the endeavor they do at the Bhakti Center to worship Radha Radharama so nicely every day. The deities look so satisfied. And then there are these festivals and our small prasadam distribution effort, even our financial efforts are coordinated in such a way by Krishna's grace that we're the guest program generates Lakshmi, but it's also a ministry. It supports Krishna's prasad distribution, and so many people come and they engage in seeing pictures of Krishna, receiving books, taking prasadam, meeting devotees, and engaging in devotional service. So everything can be used in Krishna service or not. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
When we come to the Bhakti Center, somehow or other, the utility bills are paid. There's a front desk person. So many people come together to do something wonderful for Krishna. We all have some service to do, some great thing to do, right? Okay, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
I echo what everyone shared. Yeah, Manjari Mataji brings a lot of serenity with her, even when you talk to her, when you meet her in Bhakti Center. It's very nice to talk to her. She's very sweet and she just has this way of delivering the message, which makes it so accessible. So really grateful for that. And really loved the class. Grateful for all the reflections that were given, questions asked. And Min Mataji's questions are also glorious. Very nice questions she always asks. But yeah, grateful to be in your presence, dear devotees.
Yeah. Let me mute the orchestra. Hold on. Okay, we see that Madan Gopal Prabhu is here. Madan Gopal Prabhu, would you like to speak?
Hare Krishna, my obeisances to all of you. It was a real honor to hear this class. And so many devotees appreciated the mood in which the class was given. And sometimes, of course, the words are very powerful, but a lot of the times it's the way the words are spoken, where we share the relish of the speaker. You know, you can see how much she has absorbed her heart in those teachings, in those pastimes, in the nectar. And that vibration, like Bhima Prabhu explained, the vibe, then permeates into the hearts of the speakers. And so I'm most grateful to be even part of this circle and to be able to participate whenever I can. This is why it's said, even a lava matra sadhu sangha, that just sitting in the circle of sadhus, even for a brief moment, is it gives us all perfection. This is a perfection of life. This is both the means and the goal, where we find so much nectar that we don't want anything more than this. This is it. This is like, as you know, this is the most happiness we can get, and it's wonderful that, wow, we're looking for happiness in different configurations in life, and we just not realizing that it's all available here in the circle of progressive devotees who are yearning and pining for Krishna, his name, his glorification, the glorification of his devotees. It's most wonderful. So thank you all very much. My obeisances to you again and again. Hare Krishna.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Madan Gopal Prabhu. Sundar Anandaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I just wanted to share something real quick when Madan Gopal Prabhu said about the, this is it. This is as good as it gets. I remembered Radhanath Maharaj recounting his times with Bhakti Tirth Maharaj when at his deathbed, while he was dying, he said, he told Maharaj, this is as good as it gets. So Radhanath Maharaj said, what are you talking about? I mean, you're in pain and, I can see going through a lot of suffering. And Bhakti Maharaj said, we're with devotees, we're chanting, and you're here, everyone's here, and this is as good as it gets. So, just thank you for that.
Thank you, Sundar Anandaji. Beautiful reflection. Bhima Prabhu followed by Adipurusha Prabhu.
I actually wanted to ask Adi to please very briefly tell us that little scenario of the kids at New Vrindavan all together running running through Puhulaban and to go take care of the cows or to go off to class, and they would sing this song, "We are satisfied living in the field or playing in the fields of Vrindavan or playing in the woods." If he would tell us that, because we listen to Bhagavatam class, especially with the vibe with a capital V of Ananda Manjari, who is immersed, who obviously has taken it upon the helm to not only be immersed but to share her immersion and her fondness, a natural fondness of Krishna's pastimes. And when we hear these pastimes, even the complications of sacrifices and stuff like that, we're literally, we allow ourselves in this morning, at this dawn, getting us ready for the day. It's like this armor of joy that we put on, that there is another world, and we are completely fulfilled with the knowledge of that world is in us, and that world is around us, and that world is what we yearn for, and that is the fields of Vrindavan. Could you tell us exactly what you saw there, Adi, with the kids singing that song?
Out behind the barn, there was a pasture, and out in the pasture there was a grove of trees, and they had a place called Krishna Dham there, which was a kindergarten or pre-kindergarten. And we could hear the children, they would chant, "We are satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan. We are satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan," which is very interesting. We mentioned that the sacrifice with this rituals and ceremonies, the people don't know what to do with their voices. They don't know what to do with their musical instruments. They don't know what to do with their art. But they don't. What's really tragic is they don't know what to do with their children. And when you see uh, children surrounded by devotees, living in a community where there's everyone is involved with worship. The Echo Village Radha Swami is building now. They're what's his name? Gauranga speaking a lot about how they're trying to illustrate to the thousands of people that are going there that this is what a temple village looks like. That the temple is the center of the community. That the people are gathering there regularly, morning, evening, and there's so many different kinds of worship and festivals that go on. But and when the children live in a place like that, there's there's no nonsense, there's no poison, there's no but in our misdirected civilization, one of the horrible things that Prabhupada called it the school's slaughterhouse of the soul. The children are horribly conditioned, and even if you send your children there, and there are other children who are immersing in deeper forms of toxic input, verbally, entertainment-wise, then your children are surrounded by demons, by crazy people, by misdirected people, and the character is shaped, and the desires and the worldview is shaped by the people around them. So we want to use our music properly, we want to use our art properly, we want to use our voices properly, and also we want to raise our children properly.
Amen.
About this. And of course, we know that is challenge to raise even one child in Krishna consciousness. Maybe I'm speaking too much. Oh, glory to Prabhupada.
Adi Purusha Prabhu, we want you to include that song in your morning class
We,
recitation. We're satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan.
we have to hear a chorus of children, and they're chanting it again and again with great joy. We are satisfied living in the forest of Vrindavan. And it's amazing. Everything they do all day is. I was mentioning that one pastime, Uttamoja used to work in the barn, and from the Krishna Dham mother, Manakumari, used to bring her particular class of children. It was probably like 8 or 10 little tiny itty bitty kindergarten kids walking through the feed aisle in the barn from the back to the front. And Uttamoja, who worked there, would pretend that he was a demon and go, "Ah, children, I'm going to eat these children," you know. And Uttamoja's had a big, fat body with hair growing out everywhere, and he would pretend that he was going to go eat the children. And Mother McCarthy, this happened every day. And Mother McCarthy would go, "Chant, children, chant," and the little kids would go running even though he was coming to eat them, they would go, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare," and he would go, "Oh no, don't chant that mantra, stop chanting that, Hare Krishna." And they would chase him all the way across the barn to the other end. It's like, they're going from one pastime to the next all day long. And it's very, very sweet, but not easy. But if we desire to create a Krishna conscious enjoyment for the children, Krishna will allow devotees to take up that tremendous, tremendous challenge to have a Gurukul and to have a Krishna conscious family, deity worship at home and going to the temple, meeting the other devotee children. And they will. It says the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. You know, if we don't raise a generation of Krishna conscious children, the world is lost. Really. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
We need to end on a higher note. The world is lost is a bit.
But
Yeah,
it's
to
not
say
hard.
something.
Krishna is working. Adantarasa Paramanushan. He's within and between every atom. He's working in uh, so many uncountable ways to uplift the society and to teach the children. And thank you for reminding me that we do want to, Krishna knows what he's doing. Even
Nice.
in a very dark place, there is light, and there's the potential that this movement will actually change society. Prabhupada said that, and it is. I see it working all the time. I gotta go right now for prasad distribution. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. All right. Min, please unmute yourself and say Hare Krishna. This will complete our yagya.
Me?
No,
Somebody.
Min.
Hare Krishna. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.